Hey, what's up guys? Valleyflying here, I'm back, and today we're going through the top 10 free-to-play farmable characters for the month of May 2018. Now, last month I did a list. I got the top 5 characters and a bunch of honorable mentions. I didn't do a countdown. I felt this list really needed to be expanded to 10 characters just to give people options as they start building their roster. So, expanded to 10. Now, what makes a good free-to-play farmable character? Well, you need to be able to farm their shards every day. At least get a chance to farm their shards every day. So if they're available in the campaign mode or in one of the stores, I think they are farmable. Now there's a couple characters that I didn't include because I don't think a lot of the global launch players have access to their nodes yet that you could farm them. So I didn't include Kingpin. I didn't include Winter Soldier on purpose just because I think their nodes are a little tough to pass at this point, especially since they raised the difficulty of the campaign mode. But other than that, most of the characters that you can get shards for are included. I didn't include Blitz characters or premium node characters. So Black Widow's not here, Black Panther's not here, Doctor Strange is not here, and a few other characters that wouldn't have made the list anyway. But let's get into some honorable mentions before we start the countdown. Now, I know some people are going to be shocked that I didn't include this because I was so high on this character previously. But as I started using him and as I started hearing from other players and really started to examine his kit, I'm not as high on him. I think he's still a good character, but he did not make the list. And I know people aren't going to like this, but Thanos made the honorable mentions. He's not in the top 10. Why? He is farmable, at least for now with the raids, and you do get him for free at 3 stars. So you could debate whether he's farmable or not, but I did include him. He wouldn't have made the list because he's a good character. Don't get me wrong; he's not a bad character. I don't have him fully leveled, but what I experienced in Blitz going against characters that are similarly leveled to him, he just doesn't have that punch. And I've talked to higher level characters that do have higher level players that do have him fully leveled. He just isn't very good at filling a role in your team. I mean, you got your A squad. I'm not sure who you'd replace with Thanos. And let's talk about his kit real quick. Why he didn't make the list. Power punch, deals some good damage. He has some good base stats. Really high health. His armor is pretty low. So this is a decent attack. Now, this is where the problems start. When you go to Brutal Assault, look at this. He has a taunt. And if you look at his passive, he gets extra resistance while taunting, which means he's less likely to get removed. But this is a 4. You get this at the start, but then it's a 4-turn cooldown. So you have trouble attacking him, and this is his big attack. This is his 300% damage to a single target, and if you want to do that big attack, he's going to taunt. Now, he does have a lot of health, but he's not going to have a lot of armor, so you can chop him down, and that's what's happened to my Thanos at a lower level, and that's what happened to Thanos at higher levels with some of these other players that have Thanos fully leveled. Maybe not all the stars, but they have him leveled and geared properly. This attack, I thought this was really good. Here's the thing though, if you look at it, the cost to do this is 7 energy. You start with 4. Most likely you're only using this once a match unless you're in a long raid. Now on his passive, he can generate energy for himself or the Black Order. There's no Black Order in the game yet, so it's pretty much himself. So this, you can be using this a little more, but you do need to get lucky. You need certain things to fall into place, and that's why he is down on the honorable mentions instead of the top 10 list. But don't get me wrong, he is a good character. Next guy on the honorable mention, I know this is going to upset a lot of people as well because he is a fan favorite. A lot of people like him. Wolverine didn't make the list. When you talk about farmable, he's very farmable. You get 5 free shards of him every single day. So eventually everybody's going to have him at 7 stars. Now, let's look at his kit real quick. And this is kind of where the problems are. This is a solid attack. He has some decent damage. He has some decent health. His armor is kind of low, but and his speed is pretty low as well. So this is a decent attack. This second skill is a lot lower. It's about half the damage. And then you do get to chain this on 3 to 4 additional targets, but this is probably his weakest skill. His strong skill, his big attack, huge damage, gets the bleed. He gets offense up if health is below 50%. It's unavoidable, really good attack. It needs 5 energy, and you start with 2. So again, kind of like Thanos, you're probably only using this once a turn unless you're in a long match or you're getting help from like a Captain America or Jessica Jones that's just giving out energy. His healing factor, his passive is pretty good. He gets a chance to regenerate 15% of his health, but you know, when you're in these higher level raids, 15% health doesn't make a lot of difference. It might a little bit, but it's not huge. I mean, you're going to chop away at that pretty quickly when you get to those raids. And then you get a low chance to revive with low health. Can be kind of annoying if you're facing him, but it's not going to be a huge factor. It's only 5% at level 4. Yeah, I mean, he's a good character, and most people get him at 3 stars, which is one of the first 3-star characters you're going to get. But as you get to the advanced levels, he just doesn't sustain that usability. I mean, I don't see him in any of the arena teams that I face. Maybe in some of the earlier shards you'll see him, but you'll start to replace him as people start to get some of these better characters. So let's move on. Last honorable mention. I really was going to put this guy in the top 10. I had a hard time. And the reason that number 10 got over and just has better tags. You know, it just comes down to that. But one of the top characters in the game is Black Widow. And one of her best abilities is the ability to give speed up to the rest of her allies. This guy does that. Speed up to 4 allies for 1 turn. When they raise the level cap and you get it up to level 7, he gives that to all allies. He also gives offense up, and that is really rare. I think Kingpin is the only other character that gives offense up to multiple characters on the team. I could be wrong on that, but I think him and Kingpin are the only ones. So, and then look at this cooldown. It's a 2-turn cooldown. Really strong character. He's a good basic, and he has he's giving ability energy out. So this is a really strong character. I like him. You could argue he could be in the top 10. He's pretty good, and he's farmable at a lower villain stage as well. So Mercenary Lieutenant, really close to making the cut. But let's get into the top 10. Number 10, Hand Century. Now, I was a little low on this guy when I did my protectors list. He was in the honorable mentions when I did my first list for April. Got down on him a little. I'm back up on him because since I made that list, he's been pretty annoying once I've faced him. Mine isn't that highly leveled, and that's kind of why I rated him a little low. But as you get to higher levels, I have seen him in arena, and he's really annoying. He does some good stuff. His health is a little low for your primary tank. Obviously, he's really good in a hand team. He also has that Mystic tag, which will be important later on. One of the better villain tanks, as far as I'm concerned. And what he does well. He has a basic attack. Very basic, just does some damage, 300%, so it's not too shabby. His pseudo taunt, he gives stealth to all the other allies, so you can't hit any of the allies. You gotta hit him unless you're using an AoE or a adjacent damage attack. But other than that, you can't attack anybody else. You can't remove a taunt off of him because it's not a taunt. You have to actually go in and remove each individual stealth on the allies, so you have to hit him. He's gonna take damage, and he gives evade to 4 of these allies. Now, this means you're pretty much gonna dodge an attack. There's some situations that you're not, but you're pretty much avoiding attack for the rest of his allies. So he does a good job at protecting. He has a 15% block chance, and then he increases his damage. He's not primarily the damage dealer, but really, really solid guy. You could farm him pretty early on. Let me go check exactly where you could farm him. Actually, it's not early on, so it's a little later. It's in the Nexus 7.3, but he is available in the Alliance Raid store. So you can choose. There's some other characters on that store that you can choose to get. I think he is a solid tank. If I redid that list today, I would probably bump him up to maybe 4 or 5 in that protector role. But yeah, Hand Sentry comes in at number 10. Moving on, number 9 on the list is Thor. As far as farming, he is available in that same place as Hand Sentry. So if you're using your Alliance Raid currency that you get, you're going to be either farming Hand Sentry or Thor. It depends how you're making your team up, but Thor, they do different roles. Alright, so Thor, his main weakness that he's ranked so low, he is slow. He's so slow. You're not getting a lot of attacks off. Now, if you put him in a good team with Black Widow, where he's getting a little faster, you put him with Captain America, which is where most people put him. He's getting some ability energy a little quicker. He's going to shine. He has some high damage. And he's very farmable. He's not like Thanos, where you don't know what's going to happen. He's going to be in that arena, no, not the arena, Alliance Raid store until they start switching up, and they haven't made too many switches. I don't think they've made any switches to that store since global launch, but we will have to see what happens. If they switch him around, then I will update this list, but as of now, he comes in at number 9. Good damage on his basic, good damage on his second. Now, this chain, we talked about this when we did the live stream. It could chain up to 9 adjacent targets. I haven't seen it happen, but there's a 70% chance that it could happen. He could attack everybody. And then on his AoE attack, he could attack everybody again. But this stun is so crucial, especially if you're in the late game, because you're using this in the latter end of the battle unless you're getting some ability energy. You're using this on turn 3, and you're probably not going to use it again. That stun, you're stunning them. They're not taking turns. So this is key, especially for that primary target. You got a 30% chance to apply it to all targets at level 6, and he just gets more damage. He gets more damage per Asgardian. So Loki's not released yet, but as they release more of these Asgardians, if they release more of these Asgardians, he's going to get more damage. He comes in at number 9. Let's move on. Not too much to say about him other than he's just a big, huge damage-dealing character. The reason he's just rated down here is because he is slow, though. But I haven't seen him used outside of an Avenger team where people are using Black Widow and Captain America, so he does get a little bump because of that. Moving on, let's go. Number 8 on the list, Crossbones. Now, he can be dangerous. When you face him in arena, you need to deal with him because that detonate, this skill right here, detonate, big, huge damage. I mentioned this before. One of my alliance mates said he has the 8th highest single target damage in the game, but that's on his AoE. I haven't went back and researched to confirm this, but even if it's not, it is a huge AoE attack. I think it's one of the biggest AoE attacks. I haven't confirmed, look at the numbers, but it is a huge attack regardless. He has a chance to apply offense down to his target. 75% chance on his primary. This taunt, he gets a little tankier as you start to level him up. He's not as squishy as he was in the mid part of the game. I think he's really good in the beginning part. He falls off a little bit in that mid part of the game, but as you start to level him up, he gets more tanky, he gets more damage, especially if you put him on the right team with the certain buffs. You give him an offense up buff, my goodness, this damage is dealing way more. It's doing 50% more damage to all enemies. It just becomes a nightmare to deal with. I normally like to use this taunt after he does this big detonate. Some people like it before. He's probably going to survive if he uses the turn before because he does have that health. He's gaining 2 counters as well. Just a solid character, and you need to deal with him. You need to have a plan to deal with him if you're going against him because of this detonate. It is one of the scariest skills to go against when you are facing it, especially if it's buffed right. So Crossbone comes in at number 8. Let's move on. Number 7 on the list is Night Nurse. Now, She is huge in raids. She's one of the best raid characters because three of her skill, well, two of her skills and her passive, she has a chance to heal. Very important in raids. Now, as you start leveling up your characters, you're not needing as much healing, so her value falls off a little bit, but she still is in that top tier for the raids. Now, the reason she's rated all the way down at number 7, she kind of falls off in the arena. She kind of falls off in when you see her on defense and on the blitz. She's not as necessary there, but for raids and even in campaign modes when you're trying to get that 3 stars, she is super valuable. Best healer in the game. That's not even a question. I mean, she's the best healer in the game. Where can you farm her? I forgot to say where you could farm Crossbones. I'll go back to that, but Night Nurse, you can farm her pretty early on. She is available. Let me look at this. She's available on Heroes 5.9, but Villains 3.9 is where you're probably going to first farm her. And then Crossbones is available in that Blitz store. And I'll talk about that because there's another character on the list that is in that Blitz store as well. Crossbones also has a node. Let me check out that node. Sorry, I'm backtracking on this list, but Crossbones, you can also farm him on Villains 4.9. Plus, you get him as a challenge in the beginning, so most people are going to have him at least at 2 stars if you've taken the time to do that challenge, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because he's one of the solid characters in the game. And then, yeah, so sorry for digressing to Crossbones, but yeah, there's Night Nurse. She is at number 7. Let's move on to number 6. I had her in the top 5 before. This is Gamora. She is one of the better characters in the game. So you know that these other characters are really solid if she is down at number 6. Really, really solid character. Farm at the same place as Crossbones. So in that Blitz store, you got to choose either Crossbones or Gamora. Currently, I am going for Gamora because I think she has a lot more value at that higher end. She's only a single target damage link character, unlike Crossbones, but she has more than one move that is good. Let's go through her kit. Basic attack, deals some good damage. At the level 6, if you look at that bump, from level 4, 170, level 5 gets a little higher, it goes up to 250 at level 6. And then at level 7, when they increase the level cap, it actually stays the same. But level 6, you're getting that huge bump to 250% damage. Actually deals more than her second attack at level 6. But unlike, and kind of like Wolverine, you get that chance to chain with that second attack. But on a kill, you're getting that 100% speed with that second attack. Same thing at that third attack, and that's what makes her so dangerous. If you don't think about Gamora when you're facing her, she could take out 3 of your characters and just put you at a huge disadvantage. She is solid. She is a good attacker. Her base stats are not as high as some of the other brawlers, but she more than makes up with her with this solid kit. Chain damage, offense up. This is a big 370% damage at a decent damage dealing level for her base stats. She is just killer. You know, most likely towards the mid rounds of the battle, she's going to kill a target. Probably not off the bat because, yeah, at the higher levels, the characters aren't going to that one shot unless your Winter Soldier's level pretty high. But anyway, she is a solid character. Number 6. Let's get into the top 5. Her alliance mate Drax made number 5. And I rated him a little higher than I did last time because I think he is one of the best, just pure tanks in the game. Has some good health. And unlike Thanos, he has some good armor to kind of keep the damage mitigated a little. He starts off with a taunt. He's a little slow, but this kind of makes up for it. When you go down to Destroyer, he's on spawn, he has that taunt, and he has a little more drain. All of his attacks do drain. This first and third skill have that drain, and so he's getting some health back, not a lot. But his second turn, you could use this fast reflexes and get that taunt. He's getting counter, he's getting defense up for those turns, so that damage that's coming in is a little lower as well. This move is okay. It's not what really makes him though. Pretty much you're using the taunt, and then you're going to his basic, and then you're getting this one, and you're getting chance to chain, maybe 5 targets, so pretty good, and you're getting that drain. So if you couldn't get some health back with Drax, but yeah, the big thing that separates him and Thanos, he gets a taunt right off the bat, and then you could use this as necessary. So if Thanos had a taunt right off the bat, I think he would be much higher on the list. Or if he had some minor changes to the character, I think he'd much higher on the list. But as of right now, it's Drax as one of the top tanks, coming in number 5. Let's move on. Number 4 on the list is Hawkeye. Now, he's this high, and his kit doesn't fully work. I'm not sure how much more I bump him up if I saw if his kit started to work, because some of the characters that are above him are pretty good. Yeah, I think in the beginning he's not that solid of a character, but as you get to more of the intermediate and advanced level, he is gonna be a real asset to your team. He is in most of the arena teams that I see. There's a few that don't have him, but out of that top 100 in my chart, he's in most of these arena teams, and these are beta players that are in that Hellfire Rio Club that just beat the Thanos raid. There's some other high-level Alliance members in there, and these guys, Hawkeye's a solid character. Let's take a look at his kit. He doesn't deal a lot of damage. He's not going to fill that damage dealer role, but he does control a lot. This is a solid attack. It's not anything special. It's unavoidable. He's got some piercing on it, and it's just a good basic. This is where he starts to get good. In the intermediate levels, he's one of the only characters that could clear 3 positive effects. Now, as you get a little higher and rank some of the other characters' skills a little higher, you'll see other characters be able to clear 2 positive effects, which means that they can clear a taunt off a tank. He also has a chance to reduce the speed bar. Now, what you're supposed to be able to do, this is where the bug comes in. You're supposed to be able to attack the target and clear 3 positive effects from a primary and adjacent. I don't think it's clearing the adjacent targets right now, so that is something that needs to be fixed. But even without that, he's still very solid. Air Burst. This is his big attack, not for the damage, but because it applies blind to all the targets. Blind is huge. It reduces the accuracy by 100%, and there's only 3 characters that have accuracy over 100%. One of them is Hawkeye. So if he's blinded, he has a 70% chance to attack. Bullseye has it at 130, so if he's blinded, Bullseye's chance to hit goes down to 30%, and Daredevil has it at 205, so Daredevils will still get that hit. But blind is huge. You're using this in the intermediate stages of the battle because of that cooldown. You need 3 more energy, so you're probably gonna see him in a Captain America team, so he's probably getting more energy, so this might come out sooner. I've seen this come out as a second attack. Usually he's going before Captain America. Sometimes Captain America goes before him. I'm not sure why. It should be pretty consistent with the speed up and their speed. Those don't change, but I've seen it switch a few times. And this is another big one. As you face those teams with Elektra or a hand sentry team, on his turn, 50% chance to attack an enemy with stealth with 170 unavoidable damage. Again, he's not a huge damage dealer. You're not bringing him on a team to deal damage, but just because you're getting that chance to attack on his turn and you're clearing stealth from that enemy half the time, that can be big in the right situation. So the Hawkeye, very solid character. Starts to shine once you start to level him up. He's not very good in the beginning, but I would recommend farming him. He is farmable on day 1. He's on that villain stage. Let me go check. He's on villains 1-9, and he's also on heroes 6-6. So it takes a little longer to get to that second node of his, but once you get there, you won't be disappointed once you start to level Hawkeye up. Plus, he has that shield tag. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the events. I've seen what was data mined. I know what they did with the beta, but all of that could change. So if they do a shield event and you need the 5 shield characters, that shield tag can be very valuable because he's one of the better shield characters that is farmable right now. Let's move on. Number 3 on the list is the man, Captain America. in my opinion, top protector in the game. That changed from my list that I did previously, but yeah, after a little more experience with Thanos, I think he got bumped down just a little bit. But Captain America, solid tank. Health a little low. He does have good armor, though, to kind of make up for that. And on his passive, big block chance. So, you know, if you add this up on a full Avengers team, it goes to over 50% because you got 25 from him. He's got an additional 25, so that's 30. And then per Avenger ally, if you put him in a team with, this counts himself as well. So you have 5 full Avengers. He's getting 25 extra. That puts him at 55. So he's getting a huge chance to block attacks. His shield bash deals decent damage, chance to chain, and 50% chance to give himself defensive up for 1 turn. It's good. Inspire. This is the game-changing effect that he brings to your team. He has a taunt. He gives defense up. He gives defense up to 10 allies. So pretty much your whole team is getting defensive up. He's giving ability energy to 1 to 2 Avenger allies and giving ability energy to 1 to 2 random allies. Big. This is arguably the best skill in the game. Inspire. I love this skill. I love having Captain America on the tank. On my team. And this shield throw, this is what I was talking about. At higher levels, it starts to clear some positive effects. So this is what you use when the tank does their taunt. And then you got a chance to chain additional targets. Again, kind of like Hawkeye, he's not going to be on your team for his huge damage. He's not a big damage dealer. But what he does with this Inspire, giving ability energy, taunting, giving defensive up to everybody. This is such a huge skill. The only reason that I might not have put him on the list, though, is because you need to be playing the game for a little while to farm him. He's first available on Hero 6-9 and then Nexus 5-9. Both of them are kind of hard to reach, but I've talked to enough global launch players that have 3-starred his node. I'm not sure if they did that before the difficulty was increased, but I've talked to enough that have farmed him and got him the that 3-star on that heroes node that I feel that he should be on the list, because even if you don't get shards for him, you have a chance to get his shards every single day, and I think that makes him farmable. So he's on the list. Number 3. Let's move on. Number 2, Yondu. Super important early game. He's kind of squishy early game. You need to build him up a little so he doesn't die right away. Super important mid game, and he still plays a role end game as you get to these higher levels. Yondu, very farmable. He's farmable on day 1, so you can start to farm him. And then later on, he has another node available on Nexus 6-9, but Heroes 1-9, you're pretty much getting that node right away. And he's a solid character, excuse me. Jagged Edge. This is a good basic attack. I've got this up to level 6 since I made that first video, and I love this attack. This is removing 2 positive effects from the target. Anything that removes more than 1 positive effect, I think, is very beneficial for the team, especially if you're going up against a team with multiple tanks. Good attack. It does some damage, and it does have some piercing, so pretty good damage. It only says 20%, but it deals some good damage. It deals more than you would think. Now, Boarding Party, as far as summoners go, he has the best summons in the game. He can get that Ravager Broomer or that Ravager Stitcher. 1 to 2 of those. Good combination. The problem is you don't get to choose. But as far as summoners, these are the best 2 summon characters in the game. Big damage from the Ravager Boomer with adjacent target, or you get a healer, which can come in huge. This is coming in at 3 energy needed for this. So right when you're going to need a heal is when he could probably summon these guys, unless you don't protect him properly and he dies. In the beginning, it's a little bit of an issue to protect him because he dies early. But as you get later on, he has some survivability. And this, let's move on to this Yaka arrow, because this is where it really screws me up sometimes if I'm facing him, because you got piercing damage. So this is going to screw up tanks because they usually have high armor. And the way armor works is it's a flat number that's decreased from the attack. So sometimes you'll see high armor targets take just 1 damage. It's because that attack is not piercing that armor. Yeah. Now, it's only enemies that aren't stealth. So characters like Hand Sentry are really going to screw up Yondu because this is pretty much a single target attack if it's just Hand Sentry and then a bunch of everybody else that's stealth. Nebula, no, not Nebula, Elektra, and who else has stealth? Black Widow has stealth. 2 important characters that have stealth. They're not going to be hit by this when they are in stealth. And then this is another one. Copy positive effect off an enemy. Apply that positive effect to itself on turn. So every turn he's doing this. It's a random enemy. And then clear positive effect from the enemy. And then Ravager allies gain 5% damage. So this is good to his Ravagers. Now, and this offense up only applies to himself and the summoned characters. I know this is worded a little weird. It's not all allies. It's just to the characters that he summons that get that offense up. So that Ravager Boomer is dealing some pretty good damage in the beginning. So Yondu, very important character. Might not make your A team after a while, but he's definitely going to be an important part of your roster all throughout the game from beginning to late stage. Very important. Farm this guy as soon as you can and build him up as soon as you can. Very important. And coming in, number 1, if you've been following the list, you know who's missing, and that is Quake. You can make the argument that she's the best character in the game. For me, it would be either Quake or Black Widow. Black Widow's not farmable. You technically can get Black Widow through premium orbs, so she can be free to play because you're getting opening premium orbs every now and then. But since global launch, I've gotten less than 15 shards of her. So yeah, so not a lot of shards coming out of her. But let's talk about Quake. We're not here to talk about Black Widow. Let's talk about Quake. Every one of her skills is very solid. She's doing some background damage. She's doing some damage with her AoE as well. Let's look at her basic. Primary target and adjacent targets, 125% damage. That's good. This is the key one though. Slow to primary adjacent targets for 2 turns. You're crippling the other team's speed with this basic move. I use this basic move more than her second. And it's not even fair. When you run Black Widow, that's speeding up the whole team, and then you're using Quake to slowing down the whole team. It's a huge boost to your team. Puts the enemy at a huge disadvantage. Quake, solid character. Solid first skills. You could make an argument. I don't have all the basic skills in my head right now, but this is one of the best basic skills in the game. Shockwave. This is probably her weakest skill, and it's still pretty solid. She attacks the primary target, clears 2 positive effects from the target, 40% chance to chain to 2 additional targets, and clear 2 more positive effects. That is a pretty good skill. It's a pretty solid skill, and this is her weakest skill. That's how solid Quake is. Where is she available? She's available in the arena store. So unfortunately, you might not be able to farm her more than once a day. If you're ranked super low, you might not be able to farm her more than once. Might not be able to farm her once a day, unfortunately. But yeah, as soon as you can get her, I would recommend her. The choices between her and Drax. A lot of people go 5 stars with one, then get to the other. I'm trying to get her as my first 7-star character because I like her so much. Now, this is her big skill. Actually, not her big skill. I think this basic is her biggest skill. But Earthquake, huge AoE attack, and you're getting offense down on 5 enemies for 1 turn. So they're not dealing as much damage. Huge protecting, and she's giving that offense down to everybody. Really solid skill. Really solid kit overall. And then her passive, she's getting extra focus, shows she's getting more chance to apply this all these debuffs to slow the offense down and getting a better chance to clear the positive effects. And then shield allies gain extra damage, so she's a shield. Inhuman gets 5% extra focus, so she's getting that as well because she is the only Inhuman in the game, as far as I know. I think they took that off of Crossbones. And yeah, solid character. My favorite character out of all these farmable characters. She's on my arena team. She's in my raid team. I've actually switched her out. If you guys watch my previous videos, Quake is in my primary raid team now because she's actually replaced Hawkeye. I've said how solid a character Hawkeye is, but I think in the raids, Night Nurse is more valuable to my team than Hawkeye is. But everywhere I use Quake, that slow just gives the whole team such an advantage. Even if you're going up against a Quake, that AI is using the shockwave first, so they're clearing the positive effects. And usually in that first turn, you don't have a lot of positive effects, and they don't aim the seismic blast right. So not a huge threat on defense, but when you use her and you use her properly, she is one of the best characters, if not the best character in the game. And that is the list. I know there's going to be some controversy on this, especially because Thanos and Wolverine were only honorable mentions. But let me know what you guys think. I think a lot of these lists is to spark the debate. I know everybody has their different opinions, but in my opinion, and this is based on my experience with these characters, this is based on my experience facing these characters and talking to people that have started global launch, started at beta, talking to a bunch of different people at different levels. This is where I think the list should be right now. Next month, doing another one. Let's see if this list changes. But right now, Quake is the top. Number 2, Yondu. Number 3, Captain America. Number 4, Hawkeye. Number 5, Drax. Number 6, Gamora. Number 7, Night Nurse. Number 8, Crossbones. 9 is Thor. 10 is Hand Century. And that is the list for the month of May. Leave a comment. I know there's going to be a lot of controversy. I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with this, but let me know. Let me know your reasoning behind if you switch up any of these as well. I will see you next time. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Valley Flying, out!